Welcome, I'm Charles Brock. When I first started woodworking, I was a flatboarder, but then I saw the beautiful work of Sam Maloof, and it inspired me to become a sculptured furniture maker. Let's go! Now, this is one of my favorite parts, is making the sleds for the rocker. It's a beautiful reverse S-curve, and it really pulls the eye. It makes the chair in a big way, I think. You need a set of 9 laminates to glue together in a stack on a form. But first we got to make the laminates. Each one is 1/8 of an inch thick. Now what I do is I use the same little 1/8 of an inch piece every time to get a very standard thickness for my laminates. You don't want to run them through a planer. If you cut them correctly, they'll be just rough enough that they'll be able to hold the glue, and the glue joint will be that much better for it. So you need a stack of 9, and if you're going to put a contrasting piece like ebony or something that's a different color so it'll have contrast, then the best thing to do is to count out 4 of them and place that piece in the middle. And if you do that, then you'll have 8 pieces of whatever the wood is, and then the one contrasting strip. Now, my favorite contrasting strip is ebony. It's hard to find ebony that is 50 inches long. What I do is I'll wait till they go on sale at a lumber supplier, and then I'll buy a piece that's shorter, and I'll just put like 2 or 3 pieces together in the middle. You count out 4, then that'll be the 5th one. Always use an odd number of lambs. That way you can get a nice piece in the middle like this. And I'll put that one piece in the middle, and I'll butt joint it until I've got that whole contrasting lamb in there, especially if it's a wood that's hard to get. If it's maple, it'll be easy to get one that's full size. So now this is for a walnut rocker, and we're going to finish up a cherry rocker that I've been working on. We're going to cut these out of cherry, and we're going to cut a contrasting strip out of ebony. So let's cut the ebony strips first. Okay, so my preparation is I have squared up my board, jointed the faces, edges, and I have run it through the planer, and it's 1.5 inches thick. Of course, my piece of stock for the cherry lambs is 1.5 inches thick also. So I've got it all ready, and I'm ready just to make some cuts. Now, how do I do the setup? I've got a thin rip jig here that is real simple. It's from Rockler, and this is the way you set it up. I use a little piece that's 1/8 of an inch thick, and I place it between the tooth on the saw blade, and I've got a special rip blade on here by Freud, and you'll see the picture there on the screen. And I've just set the difference here of 1/8 of an inch, and now I'm going to move it back and tighten it up. So I'm going to do the tighten up there. And now I'll be able to take my stock and push it against this little bearing here and make the cut. I only need maybe about 4 pieces of the ebony, and that'll do for the little piece in the transitions and in the sleds itself. All right, and because of the dust that ripping makes, I'm going to bring my hood back over here, and I'm going to use a push stick too. All right, I cut 20 lambs, and I really, since I'm using the contrasted strip, only need 16. And so I've got the ebony for the contrasting strip, and I'm going to have some transitions. There are 5 transitions for each of the legs, times 4 legs equal 20. And so you'll only need 16 out of whatever the chair material is if you're going to use a contrasting piece in the stack of transitions. So now we'll take these and put them together in sets and take them over to the form and glue them together. And then we're going to have some sleds that are a beautiful S-curve. But I would be amiss if I did not tell you to make yourself a good push stick for this, and be very careful. Always use something to protect your eyes, because there's a lot of particles of wood that will be coming back at your face when you do this. And a good sacrificial push stick with a handle that will keep you out of the way of the blade is the best investment you can make. And if you get down to a real thin piece of stock, stop. Don't put yourself at risk. This is supposed to be fun. All right, now, how do you glue up the sleds? I've got a set here for that cherry chair that I've been working on, and I've got the contrasting strip in the middle. These just came out of the form over here. So I'm going to tell you how to get to this point and show you also. So let's put this to the side. Now, here's what you need. You need a bench of some sort, a table to lay this out on. I just happen to have a committed bench for this. I can clamp my form at the other end, and right here I can put the glue on, take it to the form, and then I've got my clamps over to the right of all of this. I can get to the clamps that I need. You've got to practice this before you get the glue out. It's very important. So I've got a bench, and you need to get the right glue. I use Tight Bond 3. It is a wood glue that is not going to show a glue line. When you sculpt down through these rocker sleds, you're not going to see the glue line. That's real important, especially if you're using walnut. It's not so much if you're using maybe maple, but Titebond 3 has a very good open time. It's easy to use, and I just continue to use it. I like it very much for this activity. I use a little bottle here. It's a glue-bot bottle so that I can spread it, and I'll show you how I spread it. It doesn't require any kind of roller or anything, but yes, that's the glue. Now, the form. This is the form. I've been using this form now for probably 8 years. In the beginning and in the DVD, the original DVD, you see that I used a particle board form and it laid down. It worked somewhat well, except that it was too heavy, and air, since it laid down against the backer board, air did not get to the glue real well, and it caused, it made it hard for the glue to cure out, especially on the inside here. So I came up with a more simple form, a lightweight form. This is the profile with a 42-inch radius and the reverse curve that you get in your paper patterns. And so I would lay that down and cut plywood or whatever you need to do to get a pretty good thickness here. This is about a 2-inch thickness right here, 2 inches, and then divide the leftover piece that you cut off from the top. I would divide it into 3 pieces so that you have what are called cawls. This is a cawl that fits right here, and this is a cawl that fits right here, as anybody can plainly see, and then a cawl here for the middle. And that's how that goes together. Then you lay your lambs with the glue on it between this, put the cawls on, put the clamps on, and then if you do it right, you'll have it. Let me show you how to glue one up. We've got 9 laminations, and the one in the center is the contrasting one, and I advise you to always place it in the center. If you don't, you might, if you're trying to go 3 down, then have a lamination, and then the rest of the stack, that's kind of a bad plan, because you can mess up all of a sudden, turn it the wrong way, and you have ruined your plan. So I always try to place my contrasting strip right in the middle. 4 walnut, 1 contrasting strip, 4 more walnut. All right, so now I've got them laid out here just like I want them. I'm just going to pull a strip of glue like this all the way down. I've got a little cutoff of one of the lambs here, and it matches up real well in width and in thickness, and it makes the perfect little squeegee to pull the glue along. And I'm hooking this finger, or kind of tracing along the side of it, and look how fast I can pull this glue out. And you need to work quickly. If you start kind of dabbing the glue, you're going to have a problem, because you may not get all the glue on that you need. Now, you don't want to leave pools of glue. That would be a bad thing, because sometimes they can kind of build up, get trapped between the laminations. And so you want to just leave a nice kind of glossy surface that's made by the glue. Now watch how easy this is to do if you do it this particular way. The roller to me was a problem compared to this, but you might want to try it just to see if you can maybe do better with it. But look how easy that is. It's just as easy as pie. And so this allows you just to move along, and time is of the essence because you've got a lot to do. And you've got about a 20-25 minute open time, I think, on this. Or at least you ought to be able to do it in about 20 or 25 minutes. And you need to practice it also. Now, I'm going to start doing glue on 2 at a time here. And just keep it moving. There you go. Flip it over. Trying to keep your stacked correctly. Now my contrasting strip, since it's ebony, I've got 2 pieces here, and I'm just butting them together. And it'll work fine. You just need to check and make sure that they stay butted together. If they don't, you can always fill in with a little bit of ebony dust or something to mend that particular joint. Now I possibly should wipe down the ebony because sometimes it's can be a little oily, but I've never had a problem with it. So, flipping this over, putting it in place. Getting a little squeeze out right there. That's good. Yeah, just stacking it up. Just stacking it up. I want to make sure I get all glue on all the surfaces. If they're kind of shiny, it tells me that it's got glue on it. If it's dull and dry looking, you need to put some on it. All right, every once in a while you need to stop and make sure that your stack is pretty straight, because it'll start grabbing. That's what glue wants to do. It wants to grab. All right, see this finger right here? This is the one that I'm using as a guide. So if you hadn't gotten one, get a guide. Now, this is the final one. I'm going to take the stack and go to the form with it. We'll get started with the cawls and the clamps. All right, I've got 3 marks here in the center, one out here, and one here. if you mark them, you've got some points of reference that are going to help you to balance the sleds and get them in the right places. And all right, so now I've got the whole stack, and I need to get the center caul. I always like to start in the center and work my way out. So I'm pushing down, trying to get it in position, and let's see here. We're going to put a clamp right there. And you'll get pretty good at doing things by yourself, especially with one hand. All right, I'm putting a clamp in the center here. Got one clamp here in the middle, and I don't have it tightened up all the way because I want to use these big old C-clamps to push the stack back against this backer board. So that's what the C-clamps, these old ugly C-clamps, that's what they're good at, is doing that. So we're going to put one here against that backer board, and we're going to put one against the other backer board. And I'm going to use this recipe all along to make sure I've got this stack of laminates where they're supposed to be. Now, I don't want the caul to lean in this direction. I want to pull it against the backer board too. So, I'm putting the blue clamps here to push, to close that gap, to square it up against the backer board. And so all along here, if I follow that recipe, then I'm going to end up with a really good clamp up. Now, I'm going to put a clamp here. That's pushing down to get my pressure on the laminate and get that glue to stick. And same thing right here. Using that process and just working it till we get all the way out is what makes a great glue up with no gaps. Let's see, yeah, it's tight. All right, so next we're going to go, you can go either way. A lot of times it's hard to get this, this reverse curve to work exactly like you would like it. So we want to get to it as soon as possible. And I'm going to put a clamp right here. And I'm going to put some pressure on it, try to hold it down some. All right, it's not quite closing up, so we're going to put another one of these beefy clamps right here, and that's going to help make that reverse curve. Now, I don't want to clamp it too hard. And this one, I've run out of thread, so let me do a better job here. Now, I need to push the stack back because see that one's sticking out. So, let's do that. As you can see, it's pushing it, but it's not pushing it all the way back yet. So I'm going to loosen just a little bit and work on that. Yeah, there it goes. All right, so now we can tighten it up some more. Yeah. Yeah, the process is clamping down, pushing the stack back, and then making sure the stack is straight with those blue clamps. You just do that all along. It kind of makes good sense. We've got all the clamps on, and they all have a job to do. These clamps right here, the long clamps, they're on to push the cauls, the top piece of wood, down on the stack of laminates. So every one of these is important for that, including this one right here in the middle where I started. At each end, we've got some clamps in place to here to pull this reverse curve, to pull it and tighten it up. But then there are two other types of clamps, or two sets of clamps. This one right here, all these dark brown C-clamps, these big boys use this end of the clamp to tighten down and push the stack until they're all evenly pressed against the backer boards back here. That's very important. So I have all of these in place just to do that, to push the stack back against the backer boards. And then the blue ones are all to keep the stacks straight. And once you've done that, everything is tight, then you're going to have a really great sled. All right, now we're ready to clean up these sleds, get all the glue off. Really, running the sled through your joiner and planer is not really good for the knives. But Titebond 3 is hard to get off because of the polyurethane in it. It's a little gummy. But so I just go ahead and sacrifice the knives a bit, and it's just a cost of doing business, I guess. I don't want to get this any thinner than 1 3/8. So I'm going to make a pass or passes until I can clean up one side, then put it in the planer, and we'll take the pair down to 1 3/8. Not a lot, but it's a little bit. So. When you have finished shaping all the parts of the upper chair and you have them in place, and we almost qualify here. I've got to put a couple of more spindles into the headrest. So the first thing is to make sure that you've got the geometry for the chair right. And so there are a couple of things you can do. Right now, I want you to zero in on the back leg and the center of the back leg. Now, right here, there's a red line that I drew at the center, and I want to see where the bearing point is. When the chair is at rest, where is that point? And so I drew a line right here, and that tells me that it's about an inch in front of the center of the back leg. Well, that's within, that gives you the geometry we're looking for, one of the points in the geometry. So if I come up here and I measure, let's see, I think we're going to push this back just a bit and see if we still get the geometry I'm looking for. I'm going to push this back to an inch behind this line. All right, so in doing that, we are, if I measure this, we're actually an inch and 3/16 ahead of the center of the back leg. So that's great. Looking at the way that the chair is sitting here, the angle is around 110 degrees, meaning this angle is around 110 degrees. That's perfect. It's going to sit very, very nicely. So this is what we want. Well, I would like for the chair to sit between 15 and 16 inches from the bottom front edge of the chair to the bearing surface. Well, we haven't put the transitions on yet, and the transitions are going to be 5/8 of an inch. And so, yes, it looks like right now we're about 15 and 5/8 of an inch from the bottom of the chair to the bearing surface. From the bottom of the chair to the bearing surface, we want to be between 10 and 11 inches, and even after we add the transitions at 5/8 of an inch, we're going to be within that range. Right now we're at 10 inches from the bottom of the seat down. From the center of the sled to the front, to this line right here, you can mark that line at 22 and 1/8 of an inch. And then, if you'll come back an inch from that line and place your front leg right there, then you're going to have it in an ideal spot. Now, the purpose of that is so that we can add our transitions. And so I can glue the transitions from here to there, and I'm going to draw a line here. So that's where one transition stack will go. And if I just center the transitions up right here, then I can glue them from here to here. There's one stack there. The stack will run all the way from here to here. And I want to know where this center line is. And so I'm going to keep it marked on the side there so it will be a reference point that I can use. So I know where they're going to go there. Now let's look on the other side. So I'm going to pull it forward just a bit. Almost. All right. That's where I want to locate the transition right here, from there to here. Now, I'm going to draw a line straight down here. I use a square, set it here, and I can draw a line like that. And then I'm going to cut off, in fact, I can do it with this. I can cut off this part right here. And in the back, and the measurement here is 22 inches. It's 22 inches from this center line. This one is 22 1/8 from that reference line to this line. It's real important. 22 1/8, and then 22 to the back. And take this mark to the bandsaw right there, that line, and cut that off. And then do the same in the back here. Then we'll be ready to glue our transitions in place, and I'll show you how. Now we have a target for our stack of 5 transitions, and so I'm going to glue them on right here. Watch me, it's very easy to do. Just make sure you're covering all the surfaces. Now, after it dries, you can take a hand plane and you can clean that up.
So this one.
Yeah. So after this dries, there's the transitions are just a little thicker than the sleds. So just take a hand plane, clean that up. You'll be ready to go. All right, I got one more to do, but you don't want to stick around for that. And next, I'm going to show you how to cut the excess off the legs, where to cut, how to make the joints fit, and you're going to enjoy that. So we need to know how much to take off. And so I'm going to look at my gaps here. I've got a little gap in the back right there. It's probably 3/16 of an inch. I've got about 1/8 of an inch there, little gap on this side, and kind of a big gap right there. Nothing greater than 3/16 of an inch. So I'm setting my compass to at least the amount of the largest gap. Now I'm going to use the bottom of the compass here. It's kind of square right there, and I'm going to let it ride across the transition, the top of the transition. And now here on the side, I can take the sled and move it over a little bit so that I can continue riding that transition. See, I have a nice line right there that you can follow. And it's got that little bit of curve in it from the transition because we want to copy this curve so that the leg will sit perfectly on this transition. And in back, I can slide this over and do the very same thing back here. Now, one of the things that you've got to do is to be able to trust your marking out. Yeah, trust is a big thing in everything you do, and I'm just going to continue marking out. On the inside, and being able to slide that back and forth is really quite a luxury. Well, I'm going to do the same thing here on the front. I've got the chair sitting an inch back from the front right here. It's sitting right there. So I want to mark, again, using that same gap. All right, I'm just continuing to scribe, because this is, like I said, this is called scribing the chair. And I'm using those transitions all the way around. And this is really very, very accurate. I've got it all marked. Now, let me tell you about cutting the excess off the bottom of the chair. This particular activity is one that some turn to drugs, some turn to alcohol, because this could be very unnerving. Look at all the work you've done on this chair, and now you need to cut on this line. Well, and you need to do that 4 times. It's something you just got to really experience for yourself. Let me tell you, you don't want to cut right on the line. You want to cut right to the waist side of the line, just barely to the waist side. There's a little bit of curve there. So you need to be very, very careful when you cut. And if you cut to the waist side, then you can take a really good rasp, and you can rasp to the line. And that's just something you're going to have to do. And it's going to take you a while. And please don't turn to the drugs or the alcohol. Just work your way through that. And I'm going to continue to give you some guidance here. This is the saw I use. This is a carcass saw. It's really good for cross-cutting, and it's a traditional saw or an English saw, in that if you want to make corrections, you can just put a little pressure on it and it has some set. In other words, the teeth go different directions like this, has a little bit of set in it so that you can make corrections as you saw. Now, let me show you what kind of saw not to use. Well, the Japanese pull stroke type saw cuts very, very accurately. It has very little set in the teeth. Sometimes there's no set at all. It's harder to correct, but it will cut a straight line and track real well. This is not a straight line. It's got a little bit of curve to it. Once you get one of these started, if you need to, if you're cutting toward the line or cutting part of below or above the line off, it is almost impossible to change directions. Do not use a pull stroke Japanese type saw. That's a warning. Or you will be probably into the drugs and alcohol. All right, so you've cut it off and you've got to get down to the line. Take your rasp and just work it down to that line. You've got to trust what you're doing. If you'll take a red pencil and just kind of almost paint it on the end grain of each of the legs and then work it down to that line, you will be very close in having the chair sit right on that transition. You want it to sit flush when it's at rest. That's the idea. Well, there's something special you can do to finish it up and get it so that it's the whole sled with transitions is sitting very flush on the bottom of the chair. And I'm going to take the chair, turn it upside down, and show you. All right, I'm just going to start. You notice there are no drugs, no alcohol, and I am going to try to cut just south of that line. And I'm going to stop every once in a while and take a look. It looks like I'm going pretty good here. So I want to sight my lines, trying to get them in the right location. As you saw, I cut to the line on all four legs. Then I took a rasp and I rasped it down to the line. Now, I'm ready for a final fit. So, if you take a look at this, this is my left one here, and it is kind of close to a fit, but I'll know better using this particular method. What I've done is I have covered the tops of the transitions with some 80 grit stick-on sandpaper. this sticky back sandpaper. Comes in a roll. And I have made a sanding platen out of it. Just a big sanding block. That's all it is. So I can take it and move it like this. Now hear that wonderful noise? It sounds like a bunch of Canadian geese, but this is going to do something and tell me something. It will sand if I sand until all the red is gone, and it's already starting to wear there, and it's starting to wear here in the middle, then this will sit flat. So I'm going to do this, then eventually it's going to lay flat here. So that's what I'm going to have to do. And here I go. All right, that one fits. That's nice. It's amazing what just a simple little sanding block like this can bring those home to a really good fit. Now, I got to do the other side. Jeez. All right, now let's find a place to locate our 1/2-inch dowel hole. So I'm 1 inch from the front here. I drew a line, and here we go. Got a nice red line there. I've already drawn the one on the other side. And so I'm going to take this off. See if I can do it without wrecking everything. All right. And now I've got this place for the hole. Let me take it over to the bench and I'll show you how to find the center of that hole. Here's the circle that I traced with the bottom of the front leg, and I made myself a couple of little holes here to sit the leg of the compass on, and I'm going to use the same method we did for the under side of the arm on the when we were trying to find a hole for the underside of the arm, using the same thing where I make some arcs at kind of 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And where they all cross is going to be where the center is. All right, now I'm going to find the center of all those arcs. And that is where I want to drill. So that's what I'm going to do right there, is I'm going to drill the hole. Now we need to know what angle to drill the hole at. So I'm going to take this back over to the chair and I'm going to show you a trick. Okay, so now all we need to do is just slide the sled over a little bit. And to find the angle, we're going to do something we've kind of done before. I'm going to, this time, place a dowel in there. And that's the angle that we need. So if I use something and hold it up against that dowel, and then draw a line, we can use that at the drill press to identify the angle that we need for drilling that hole in the spot that we just found. I've got a drill press here, 1/2-inch bit in the drill press, and right here I've got a line. That's my depth that I'm going to go to, which is 1.25 inches. And if you see this line right here, that's the line that I made with that dowel. And so I'm using this to kind of square up and make sure I've got the right angle. I'm just placing it against that line. And now if I hold on to everything, okay. All right, I've got the dowels in it, which now makes it possible for us to articulate the legs back and forth and get them in the right place. If they're not in the right angles to the center of the chair, that chair is just going to wobble like this and probably rock sideways. And when a chair does that, that's the one you save for the relative that you don't like. So now we have dowels in the front legs, and we can articulate the sleds like this, in and out. Well, we've got to get them in the right alignment. So if you look right down here in garish red, I have made a line that's the center line based on where our half-inch mortise is for spindle number 4 down here. All right. In order to get these in the right alignment, I made something called an 8-degree jig. 8 degrees just ends up being the perfect angle for these to come in and sit in a nice position on top of the back legs. And if you place this in between and push the jig in and out until the sleds are sitting on those back legs and centered nicely down here with this little pointer pointing at the center line, then we've got everything in the right position. And if you put a clamp on it, then you can do what you need to do to identify where the sleds are going to sit. And I'm marking out every possible location there so that I can come back and identify and drill a hole in the right location. So I am doing that marking right now, and this is real important. Getting it over here, and this little thing is easy to make. And in the back of the book about making the sculptured rocker, there are some instructions how to do this. So now I know where it's supposed to go, and all I have to do is drill the holes in the right place. And what we're going to run into is the legs are coming in at 6 degrees. How do we drill those holes and keep them inside this joint without drilling through the bottom? I've got a trick, and I'll show you how. The 6-degree cutoffs that I told you would be valuable, they're valuable here too. The leg, the splay is 6 degrees. So if we negate that splay so we can drill a hole in the right place at 90 degrees, that's what we want to be able to do, is drill a hole at 90 degrees here. So I've got 6 degrees running out on this side, and then I've got 6 degrees running up this way. And so if I do that, then when I put the dowel on, then and put it in the right place to drill, we're going to drill a 1/2-inch hole right here, and it'll be perfect to receive the sled and put it in the exact right place. I'll show you how. It was about 1 1/4 inches deep. That's what I'm looking for there. Then all we have to do is put a dowel in there and swing it over, make our line just like we did in the front, and then we can just pop that sled right on. Now, let me just tell you something. One of your dowels is going to be going this way, and the other is going that way. So what you do is just put some pressure in the middle right here, and just let that thing deflect a little bit, and it'll pop right on. If it doesn't, then just take a little bit off of the outside of your dowels, in the front here and in the back right there, to give it a chance to pop on. It'll work every time. But don't put a clamp in the middle and try to use that kind of pressure, because as soon as you have glue on it, it's going to make a mess, or the piece is going to fall off and fall and hit something, make a dent. You don't want that to happen either. All right, once you get these on, go to the shaping video, and everything you need to know about shaping is there. And if you follow that, you're going to have a beautiful rocking chair. Let me know what your questions are. Let me know how you're doing. I look at all of these as my grand chairs. Thank you so much for building the rocker with me. Now for the last thing in drilling these holes is you've got to have a place for the back leg dowel to fit into the sled in transition on each one of these sleds. So the secret is right here. It's a 1/2 inch dowel center. And here's what you do. Just take it and install it in the hole that you drilled, that you made. And then the next thing is, how are we going to position these rockers? Well, let me rig this up so that we can have them in the right place. I'll be back in just a second with a clamp on here and ready to show you how to make a little dimple, and we'll know where to drill that hole. All right, I've got the 8-degree jig on there. I've got it centered, and we've already talked about that. I've got it clamped, and so the placement is just perfect. Now all I need to do is make the little spur or the brad point on the end of the dowel center has made a little place that shows me exactly where to drill that hole. Now, if I just push the sleds off to the side, stick the dowel in there, I can do the same thing that we did on the front legs to get the angle, take it to the drill press, drill it, and then we'll be rocking.